Okay, so I actually saw Supergirl a while back before I watched Spider-Man Brand New Day. So after watching the film Supergirl, I kept thinking, man, if the superhero genre needs to go on, especially the DCU side of things, well, the future movies, the future shows need to be better than this, far better than Supergirl, because the movie, it was a mess. Alright? If you don't know the story of Supergirl, it is basically the adaptation of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, where Kara likes to go party on the Red Sun planet and get drunk. Now, in the planet, she meets a girl who seeks revenge on this villain. The name's like Krem or something. She seeks revenge for this guy, right? Because he slaughtered her entire family. And this same villain also poisons Crypto, Supergirl's dog. And so they both team up to hopefully get revenge on this villain. Now, the main problem, I will address all of the problem first before I move on to the positives, because the positives in this film, surprisingly, are so little. The main problem that I have with this film in particular is the characterization of Supergirl. I know that her character in the Woman of Tomorrow comic is like this, you know. She is drunk, irresponsible, and she doesn't give a fuck about what's going on at all. She just wants to go party and have drinks and chatty and blah blah blah. So this is basically not the same Supergirl that I am very much used to. The classic version of Supergirl, she's much more in line with Superman, and it is a more traditional take on the character. Whereas this film, the Supergirl that is present in this film, she takes a much more radical take on the character. Supergirl in this film is played by Millie Alcott, and man, I don't know if this is the writer's fault or something, but the writing of her character here is a mess. Alright, and by the time she gets into the point where she needs to save everyone, and she does, the worst thing is that you don't feel anything at all. You know, when you watch a movie like this, a superhero film, there has to be a redemption arc that she needs to do better and save people, and the character needs to earn the trust, needs to earn the, you know, character arc that they're supposed to be on. But this film, this Supergirl, this version of Supergirl doesn't have anything redemptive about her. There's no redeeming qualities about her personality, because she is just, she doesn't care about everything. And also, one of the issues that I have with Supergirl and Superman is that how much they are nerfed into all of these films. Like Superman, the James Gunn's version of Superman is quite weak when you compare to the Henry Cavill version. And in Supergirl is the same, you know, because in some of the fight scenes that are happening in this film, she loses her powers quite a lot, you know, whether it's a kryptonite dart or just heavy punches or poison. I know that it has a lot of reasons to downgrade the powers of Supergirl, but we did that in Superman quite a bit. But in this film, you double down on the fact that our superheroes are weak, and when they strike back at the end to beat the final boss or something like that, she still encounters the poison dart, and so she is poisoned, she's weak again. So at this point, it has become quite redundant. Could you believe that James Gunn, if he makes a Batman film where Batman loses almost every fight that he is in, it would really damage the character, you know? It would destroy the mythos of Batman and all of these other characters if you are constantly nerfing them down. So that is one of the biggest issues that I have in Supergirl and Superman. But the issue is much more apparent in Supergirl, alright? It just doesn't sit right with me. When you're talking about the action though, the action is alright. But there is one big action set piece that happens in the end of the movie, where it takes place on this desert island, and all I can see is that the CGI in that particular fight scene is really bad, you know? Well, at least I have one positive for this film, and that is Jason Momoa as Lobo. This is the best character in the film, no doubt, even though he's not in Supergirl for that long. But every time that he's on screen, you're actually having fun with the film. Yes, it is still Jason Momoa being himself in a Lobo costume and makeup, but I still kind of like his version, his take on the character, because he's just so fun. I would have liked more Lobo in this film though. It would have benefited the enjoyment of this film so much more, because when you look at this film, it just falls apart. From the storytelling perspective, why would you choose this particular story to introduce this version of Supergirl who is not likable at all? You know, because this is her first introduction into the DCU, and she is supposed to be playing a big part in the DCU going forward. But as if right now, I just don't like her as a character, you know. In the film, she spends a lot of time just goofing around, drinking, and just doesn't really care about anything at all, you know. So why would you choose this particular story to introduce an important character going forward in your universe? I just don't get it. I will give Supergirl a 4 out of 10, alright? Because this is as a DCU movie, and we started strong with Superman. I really like Superman, but when you move on to this film, you know what? Supergirl should have been the second film in the DCU lineup, because the DCU should focus on the big heavy hitters, you know, the big characters: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, or Jon Stewart. But I think this is where the James Gunn problem kicks in, because when you're watching Supergirl, it very much feels like the DC version of Guardians of Galaxy, and I just don't really like that, you know. Let Supergirl be something else rather than a copy version of Guardians of Galaxy. Even though James Gunn didn't direct this film, I still feel his vibe everywhere in the film, his tone. And the movie doesn't really know how to get serious and how to get the audience invested in the character, in the journey of the character that she's going on. I just don't really care about her character in this. And now, let's talk about what the repercussions could be of Supergirl flopping in the DCU. Well, I think there needs to be a new lineup or a course correct, because when you look at the lineup of projects, you've got Superman, Supergirl, Lanterns. Now, Lanterns also has a problem, you know. If you look at the trailers, yes, the third trailer is amazing, but it really makes it clear that Jon Stewart will become the number one Green Lantern, and maybe, just maybe, Hal Jordan could die in the first episode. I just wouldn't want that to happen, alright? Because you have Hal Jordan, Kyle Chandler playing Hal Jordan. He is a big character, and Kyle Chandler is a really great actor, so you wouldn't want to waste him for just the first episode and then he dies. I still think if Hal Jordan dies, the Lantern show would fall apart, because whether you like it or not, Hal Jordan is the main Green Lantern, and swapping him with John Stewart going forward, doing Hal Jordan stories wouldn't make sense, right? So I think in order for Green Lantern to survive and the Green Lantern IP, because it needs to be a redemption for Green Lantern franchise. And if you kill Hal Jordan in the first episode, it would just break the show, I think. So, the main problem with James Gunn DCU right now, including Superman, is that he makes the heroes weaker. Because yes, he wants us to understand the struggle, but sometimes he takes it way too far. Like Superman gets a lot of beating throughout the first Superman movie, and then in the end he fights back and just fights the boss and all that, and it's cool. But it takes a long time to get these characters into their prime. Same with Supergirl. Seems to be the same case with Lanterns, particularly with Hal Jordan. So I wouldn't want these characters, these great characters, to get weakened. I know that they need to struggle for sure, yes, but that doesn't mean that they lose every fight that they're on. It's just not the way to do it. You still need to make the heroes look cool, look believable, while still highlighting their internal or external conflicts. It's fine. But this is not the way. I am very, very cautious about the DCU future because the lineup is a mess. You should focus more on the big guns first, and then in the second chapter, in the third chapter, you can introduce these little characters. But look at what James Gunn is doing. He's focusing on Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, Swamp Thing, and a lot of these little characters that I really don't care about. And I think he's having a little bit of a trouble to accept that. The other example here is Clayface. I know maybe the Clayface movie will be a good film, but it is too soon to introduce Clayface in his own movie before we even got our first Batman film. It wouldn't just make sense. It would not just make sense at all. And I'm really just devastated by this future of DC. Well, it's not so bright unless they're course correcting and they're making up for their mistakes and replacing the movies with the movies that we actually care about, like Brave and the Bold and The Batman and Man of Tomorrow. Yes, I'm excited for that, but just give these big characters the spotlight first, and then when you gain the audience's trust, like the MCU did, you can start building up on these little characters, not vice versa. That is not too difficult to understand. It is very easy. Just give the fans what they want. These projects will be successful because remember, Supergirl only made $125 million in the end of the theatrical run, whereas Spider-Man Brand New Day makes nearly $2 billion for just 2 weeks in theaters. And also Superman, when you combine the box office of Superman and Supergirl and you compare it to Spider-Man still wins, so it should show that just give the fans what they want. And of course the fans will trust the DC brand once again, because when I'm seeing what James Gunn is planning here, it just doesn't make sense to me. So tell me everything, every arguments, every perspectives that you got on this issue, and see you on the next video.